Hey ladies and gentlemen, so here we go. We have this beautiful blueprint with all our views placed in, that kind of stuff. That's just great. But this is almost kind of useless for us until we get some dimensions in here. Because the purpose of this blueprint is, imagine you can take this thing and you can hand it to somebody after you're done printing it out, and then they can make their exactly what you want based off of just the information that's on here. That's the goal, is that maybe they wouldn't even be able to talk to you, and they could build exactly what you want based off of your blueprint. So dimensions are very, very important. So here's some basic rules for dimensions. Number one rule: do not repeat dimensions. So if all these wheels are the same, I do not need to say, hey, this wheel is 1.25, this one's 1.25, this one's 1.25, this one's 1.25, this one's 1.25. No, just tell us one. If they're all the same, just give it to us one time. If I know the width of this is 1 inch, you tell me that here. Well, don't tell me here. Like, don't tell me up here again. That's just unnecessary. It's confusing and it's redundant. It's a waste of time and it's messy. So make sure to only place dimensions in for one time. Do not repeat them. The opposite of that is make sure you're not missing any information. And that's the most common error with dimensions, is that people miss them. Maybe they forget some. So maybe, like for example, a common one that somebody might miss on something like this is telling us how far in from the side should this hole be drilled. So that would be an important dimension to have in there. Another rule of dimensions: the dimensions we want to keep outside of the object. We really do not want numbers inside of the object, because that's kind of distracting. It distracts from the actual object. And it's also kind of sloppy and messy. It just doesn't look good. So we want to have instead of having it in the object, we want to have it out of the object. So let's say you accidentally place it in. You can drag them. So you can drag them around, just so you know. Another rule of dimensions is that we do not want the dimensions to be outside in this area as well. So that's kind of a neatness type of thing. So we want to keep the dimensions outside of this area, keep it in here. In general, we try and keep the dimensions outside of this area as well, but I'm not as picky about that. But for sure, keep them out of here. We do not usually put dimensions on this isometric view, the 3D looking view, because we should have everything. We should be able to get everything on these three views. Another rule about dimensions is that we should line them up, make them look nice. So if I have multiple dimensions going along this side, instead of having one way over here, and one over here, and one over here, get those dimensions lined up so they look nice and orderly, easy to read. That's the goal of the blueprint, is make it very easy to read. Nice and neat and easy to read. So I'm going to pop in some dimensions here. So let's start putting in some dimensions. So you need to think this through in terms of what dimensions you want to put in, what's the best view to put them on, what view that makes sense to put them on. And we don't want one view to have to be too busy. So first step, in the blueprint file, we go to this Annotate tab. Annotate, look at the word in there that's kind of like the word note. Kind of sounds like it's in there, add notes. So Annotate is kind of like, let's add notes. So let's go to Dimensions, or under Annotate, I click Dimension, and this is similar to how you did dimensions in your part files. Is you find a line, it kind of snaps in, and then you click the other side and drag it up. Sometimes you can just click the actual line and drag it. So for example, that didn't work for me right there. So, and notice I'm still on this tool, it's highlighted. So remember, the escape key is your friend. So I'm going to press escape, get off of that. Okay, great. Now I'm going to click Dimension again. I'm going to get the width of the vehicle. So that is 1 inch. Right there, I click OK, bam, that's great, 1 inch. Now, I do not need to say 1 inch again over here, because that would be repeating, that would be redundant, so I don't want to do that. Now, I need to get the height of the vehicle. So now I'm thinking, if I put the height of the vehicle from here to there, well, my line is going to go through the wheel, so maybe this isn't the best place to put the height. You know, I could do that, but now that's looking a little sloppy, more lines in that wheel that we don't want. So I'm going to delete that, and now I think, can I do the height on this view? No, I can't. What about, yeah, I can do it on this view, so let's do the height on this view. So I'm going to do the height, bam to bam. Alright, that's great. And now, I got the back height, but now I'm like, okay, wait a second. They need to know how long this thing is. So, well, maybe I could put the dimension down here how long it is, but maybe let's put it up here. Let's put how long the vehicle is up here and drag that out. And again, I don't want this, like, that's sloppy if it's way out there. So make it kind of nice, drag it right there, and I can always change it later. And there's my numbers. The numbers show up. One thing that, so I told whoever reads this blueprint will now know the width, or the thickness of the vehicle, the width, the height of the back, and then the length. But what they don't know is they do not know the height of this front part. So I need to tell them that. So I'm going to put it right here. Bam and bam. So there's that dimension for the front. Now they know they have enough information where they would actually be able to make this actual wedge shape. But they don't know where these holes go. They don't know how big the holes are, including this one. So let's do that. So I go to dimension. I click the front of the vehicle, try and get the center. And there we go. I can tell, I can say like, hey, this is going to be 1 inch in from the front. But then if I think about that, okay, X and Y. So I just said the X, the Y is up and down. So I told them how far to measure left and right. But now I need to tell them how far to measure up and down. So now I'm going to do from the bottom to the top there. And that's 0.25 again. Well, that's good. So that actually is not repeating, because here's the 0.25 for the front of the vehicle, and then here's the 0.25 for the center of that axle. So then I would do the same thing for this wheel to tell that hole where it goes. And then I would actually have to tell this hole where it is as well. So I can find the center point. I can say, ooh, that center point is 0.75 up from the bottom. But I also need to know how deep that hole is. So let's go from here to here. And let's say, okay, so I pop that in. But I also need to know the diameter of that hole. So now let's do that on the back. That makes, I mean on the top view, but on the back here. So that makes sense to do that here. So I'm going to put the diameter of the hole right there. So 0.375. And then so those are some significant dimensions that I've completed. I am definitely far away from being done. I don't have the dimensions of the wheels or the parts of the wheels. I don't have the dimensions of the straw, how far the straw is forward from the back, how far the straw is, or how the diameter of the straw. I need that the straw is centered, so like for example like this. So there's a lot that I'm missing and do not have on here. So we could spend more time going over all this, but I just want you to see that. That's how you put dimensions in. If you ever get stuck, again, escape key. Escape key is your friend. Tap that escape key. Bam, bam, bam. Let's say we want to do something with this. We can double click it, and then you can like kind of mess with these a little bit. We can right click, and there's options there. Again, we can click and drag them. So if you notice, I'm trying to get this in line with that to try and make it nice and neat. So those are some basics of how you put in dimensions and the rules about doing dimensions. Try it out.